Were you silent when we died? Did you see photos in 68 of children with their hair becoming rust? Sickly patches nestled on those small heads, then falling off like rotten leaves on dust. Imagine children with arms like toothpicks, with footballs for bellies and skin stretched thin. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maki, and on here we review books, talk about movies, talk about artworks. We do unscripted, virtually anything that comes to mind, but basically more often revolving around art and literary works. I just read this poem from the book Half of a Yellow Sun, which is what I'll be talking about today. And I think it's also timely to talk about this book and the story it tells, largely because of the political dispensation in Nigeria, the tense atmosphere, the security issues, the quest for secession. There's so many things going around that when you read this story again, when you read this book again, you could relate, you could feel what could be our reality today in Nigeria, because it's really not different from what happened in the book Half of a Yellow Sun. So welcome back again. If you're new here, thank you for coming on, and I hope you have a great time viewing and watching, following my content on this channel. If you've been here before and you're coming back again, thank you for keeping up with me. I'm so grateful, and you're the reason why I have a reason to make more videos and produce more content. Okay, Half of a Yellow Sun. Whenever I think about this book, whenever the name of this book comes up to me, the next thing that comes to my mind is Ozemena. This book revolves around the Nigerian-Biafran War, or Civil War if you like, that happened between 1967 to 1970. I mean, you could imagine that barely 7 years after we got our independence, we switched into, or we were quickly thrown into a war. I wasn't born then, but reading accounts, people's story about the war, I do not want to, experience war. And just like Chimamanda wrote in this book, her father will always say, "Na agha ajoka." That is an Igbo. She literally translated it to mean war is ugly, and that is simply what it is. War is ugly. War is bad. War is not something we want to experience. It's not something we even wish on our enemies, because the proceeds of war are terrible. Well, I'm not a war historian or a war custodian. I don't know what the best word is, but just saying that war is terrible and we don't want to see that. And also saying that we could really use this book, and this book particularly, because it's something you can access. It's a book you can access anywhere, and it's not exactly pricey, so you can actually access it and read it, and let the book speak to you, because the book actually will speak to you if you read it. Imagery was top notch, the use of language, the diction quite understandable, which is what CNA does every time we have books. Simple diction, you can relate, you do the scenic presentations yourself. She uses images 100%, and so when you're reading, you picture yourself in these places. While reading this book, this is actually my first time of reading the book, and I pictured myself in Nsukka at Odenigbo's house. I pictured myself at the party Olanna's parents would throw, the lush parties. I pictured myself in Susan's house where Richard and Susan were together, and how Richard told Susan he wasn't interested in her. I pictured myself, standing in front of Kainene, and she had that stern look, unfaltered, unbreakable look of hers. I pictured myself, standing in front of he's a Colonel Madu. It's a lot. I pictured myself in Kano, the relative's place in Kano. I pictured myself seeing Arize pregnant and running. It's a lot. Well, let's go into the book. So Half a Yellow Sun is revolves around the story of the Nigerian-Biafran War, civil war if you like, and it tells the story of Olanna, Kainene, Odenigbo. So the story really revolves around a few characters, namely Olanna, Kainene, Odenigbo, the university community at Nsukka, Richard, Olanna and Kainene's parents, Ugwu, the houseboy, and their lives really. So I don't even know, it's hard to approach this book from one direction or just stick to one part of the book and talk about it, because it's a great book. It's a big book. It tells a lot of stories. You know, it's touching. That's how I want to see it. I'm not sure that's the best word, but it just lets you into what went on during that period. You know, how people's life could change with the snap of fingers. One moment you're having it all great, and the next minute you are in total lack and in serious confusion, you know. So Olanna is a twin. Kainene is a twin sister, but they're not identical twins. And Olanna appeared to be the apple of everyone's eyes because she was pretty and she was the world's definition of a beautiful woman. And Kainene wasn't. Kainene was, in the world's eyes, more manly than womanly, right? And so Olanna was the one who was tagged a prize. You know, she was the beautiful one, and so the family could use her to get whatever they wanted. She could be fronted as a princess or a queen, and Kainene, you know, acted more like the man of the house or the male child of the family, and was involved more in the parents' business. And she actually was, yeah, doing so great with it, and she was on top of everything. She was doing so well. I mean, so picturing Kainene in my head now, I really wish I could, you know, I would be like her. So she's a business tycoon. She's what's the word now? She's a great entrepreneur. I don't know what word used to describe Kainene, but you know, she's everything and more. What we will say is in Gen Z parlance or millennial parlance, that she's a queen and more. You know, this kind of stuff. Yeah. While Kainene was, you know, she's not exactly an extrovert or an introvert, but Kainene and Olanna were opposite of each other. Why Kainene didn't, you know, care about what people thought, Olanna bothered about people's feelings, people's emotion, what they thought. She really wanted to please people. She, in Kainene's words, she cared about people who didn't care for her care, you know, in that way. But Olanna wasn't interested in her parents' wealth in that sense. She had a mind of her own. She wanted what she wanted. She wanted to do her things. She had a decision made. Kainene, so they are similar in that part, you know, knowing what they want, and they were going to stick out their heads for whatever they wanted to do, and they chased it all through. You know, it was good until the war happened. And I'm sad, or I was sad while reading the book to see that Olanna, Kainene, in fact, everybody was thrown into a mess, and they had to live, you know, another life that they weren't used to. And Olanna had a baby, so they were always calling her baby. And if you did not pay attention, you miss that her name is actually Chiamaka. She's my namesake, so I was in the war. Wow. Or I was in the book. Yeah. And so baby she grew up to be a smart girl, and the war affected her because at some point I think she was having standard growth. Olanna said to Richard, oh, baby is growing more wiser, but she's not growing to Olanna. Richard responded, better, more wisdom than height, I think is what he said. So I'm going to be jumping from one character to the other, just trying to do a general overview of what the book looks like. Odenigbo, who Kainene always referred to as Olanna's revolutionary lover. Cynical, but true anyway. Odenigbo is that university lecturer or professor, if you like, who had this for one of was a nationalist outlook and was always on about how corruption was rife and this and that, you know. And he always had this a mini conference or symposium with his colleagues at his house where they sat to chat and drink and talk about happenings in the country and how this was that, how that was this. And he was the perfect man for Olanna. I actually admired his character and how CNA portrayed his character, wrote about him. You know, you could see a man who was made, right? And how he became an opposite of that made man who lived in Nsukka. And when he was in Umuahia, he started to drink. Someone who, you know, was an elite in that sense, drank brandy, you know, and had constructive conversations, and the world reduced him to someone who took kai kai at a bar by the corner, and he kept more to himself than he did back at Nsukka. So I mean, these are the processes of what does to you. It makes you a totally different person. Moving on to Ugwu and still on what does to you. You know, Ugwu was an inquisitive young man. He wanted to know more. He was intrigued by his master's personality, Odenigbo, and he really was interested. He wanted to be like Odenigbo. He looked up to Odenigbo, and he became a part of Odenigbo's life, even though, you know, it wasn't visible to all of them. But Ugwu felt a part of Odenigbo's life even before the war happened. And so when the war happened, he felt a need to continuously, you know, stay around the family. And he was a brother, a son, a steward, everything. And, you know, baby was so used to him. Baby was so into Ugwu. Who wouldn't be, right? I mean, this is someone she met as part of the family, who took care of her, who catered to her needs and all of that. A part of the story I didn't exactly enjoy was when Ugwu did the most stupid thing I could ever think of. You know, I mean, how can your instinct say do not move, and you, I mean, being so inquisitive, you know, he knew it was a wrong move, but he still went the first time, and it was his lucky day. You know, Olanna was on time to save him from being conscripted into the army. And the second day, lovey-dovey, he was walking Eberichi, the love of his life, I guess, and boom, he was in the army. The army changed Ugwu a lot. I was sad for him, but at the end of the story, I was happy he found salvation. So he was able to forgive himself and move on. You know, he learned quickly. You know, he was exceptional. And the point where he joined the other young recruits to rape the girl at the bar, I totally did not enjoy that scene. I wasn't happy, I wasn't pleased, but this is the reality of what war does. And the same thing also happened to his sister, Anglika. You know, she was raped by 5 men, and she couldn't even talk about it, the trauma. She felt less of herself before her brother. This is someone who, you know, who was vibrant, who was chatty and witty, you know. But Ugwu noticed that she wasn't, you know, the Anglika. He knew this wasn't my sister, and she changed. This is what the war did to her. Sad ending. Kainene. Kainene didn't return. Yeah. I'm sad. You know, I really want to see CNN and ask her why Kainene did not return. She would have let her return in the story. I mean, a little happy ending amidst the sad ends, you know. It's also funny how their parents, Kainene and Olanna's parents, would just, boom, elope to the abroad, run away to London for safety and leave their children. Well, different strokes for different folks, they say. But Kainene was really a strong woman. And Richard, I admired Richard's personality, his character in the story. He tried so much to destroy stereotypes of how white people saw blacks, even when Susan was drumming it down his head that these people are like, for one of what, barbaric, you know. Even when the journalist, the redhead and the plump one came, and the redhead was so cocky, yeah, that's the word. He refused to, you know, he felt a part of the society. He felt he was one of these people, you know. The Iboku art brought him down to Africa. He was on a voyage, yeah. But there was a connection he felt to the land, right? There's a connection he felt to Nigeria. There's a connection he felt to the Biafran soil. There's a connection he felt to the southeastern part of Nigeria, where this prized treasure is located in Iboku. And you know, with time he found home. Yeah, that's what he found, a home here, a home he didn't find in London or, you know, where he came from. But he found it here, and he found some sort of peace with Kainene. And although they didn't speak much, but the silence was good enough for them. And so I was so pleased with how he always used the pronoun we, because he felt a part of this, you know. He felt a part of this group. At some point, he was optimistic about the Biafran struggle, and he said to himself he would be a part of Biafra because he saw the birth, and so to him he was a part of it. And when the redhead journalist, the cocky one, was trying to mock you and say, oh, you keep using we, he said, yeah, we, because he feels a part of it. So the poem I read at the beginning of this video was part of the story, and it just brings me to, you know, to where it said children with hands like, what's the word, children with arms like toothpick. You know, while growing up, we would make jest of each other, abuse each other, and say, oh, you look like a toothpick, look at your legs like toothpick, look at your hands like toothpick. I mean, did we know that these were the characteristics of children who lived during the war? Or you say, look at your big stomach, or your stomach looks like a football. Kwashioko. How lucky we are, right? How privileged we are to exist today. So I'm going to end this video by saying, Aga Ajoka, war is ugly, really ugly. And no matter what, we do not want to degenerate into war. I'm filming from Nigeria, and Nigeria is currently going through a series of, you know, sad events. Yeah, I'm trying to find the perfect word so I don't use words wrongly. Nigeria's going through a series of sad events, security issues, food famine. Is it famine or famine now? Well, I hope there's a correct one, famine, so let's use famine. You know, security issues, famine, people are unsure, you know, there's banditry, the state is in total disarray. Like, we're quickly dwindling from a state of order to disorder. I hope, you know, it's a lot, and we could go on and on talking about this, but please do read this book and see why we can't afford to nosedive into a war. I hope, you know, you enjoyed this video, and please comment, like, share, subscribe, leave a comment to yeah, leave a comment to do an assessment of this video, what you like to talk about. This book is inexhaustive. I hope to bring, you know, a guest on the next video to talk more about this book and share their thoughts on the book, because I really totally love this book, and I do not think that my thoughts are good enough, right, or are enough to exhaust all the angles and nuances of this book. Thank you. Until next time, Maki.